Governor, I just want to follow up with you on Social Security a bit. And again, if you want to get in the conversation with Governor O'Malley, please raise your hand. I'm critical of both parties on Social Security because it's going to require bipartisan steps to save the program. And defending the status quo, which many in your party do, is not saving the program. So if Martin O'Malley were king of the world and could just make the changes necessary to save the program, to have it fully funded for 50 years or whatever would be prudent, what are the changes you would make to preserve the program?
Yeah, it's actually fairly straightforward. In fact, uh, when I ran for president, Mark, I proposed scrapping the cap for income above 250,000. Indulge me a second
Yes,
here.
sir.
Uh, Congress, every 30 years, has to make an adjustment to what is a 75-year forecast for Social Security. I don't operate on a 75-year forecast. I suspect you don't operate on a 75-year forecast, but Social Security does. So periodically, Congress has to re-examine that forecast, make allowances for puts and takes for things that happened in the interim. So uh, when people say, even the Washington Post had a headline that was grossly inaccurate. When people say Social Security to go totally bankrupt by 2033, what they're actually talking about in this pay as you go program is that the surplus built up intentionally since 1982 to cover the golden years of us baby boomers, not you, but me, and people older than me, before we go on to our eternal reward. That surplus has been depleted faster than they thought in 1982.
Yep.
But the reason for that is something totally within our control. The reason for that is income inequality after 1982 pushed increased earnings into the top 6% of American households. And most people don't know, because most of us don't make more than 170,000, that any dollar we make over 170,000, roughly, I'm rounding for this year, Social Security doesn't apply to that.
Yeah.
So that leads to what most Americans, the 80% of us, Democrats, Republicans, and independents, who want Social Security to be made stronger and expect our full 100% of our benefits, not 80% of it, uh, to say that's not fair. That somebody who is a janitor, say in Trump Towers, has something taken out of his or her paycheck every 2 weeks for the entire year, whereas the owner of Trump Tower stops paying in about 3 seconds after the ball falls in
Right.
Times Square. Another way to say that, which might be simpler, is that a family of 107 that makes 170,000 pays the same 11,000 into Social Security as a single person making 170 million pays into Social Security. So for the long-term ability of Social Security to pay 100% benefits, we have to remove that cap. And people can debate, well, is that once you make more than 400,000, as President Biden indicated? Is it 250,000, as I proposed way back in yesteryear in 2016? But it is math, and it's a totally
Yeah.
solvable problem.
Would that one change make the program solvent?
It would make it solvent for the far future.
Yeah.
Your definition of solvent is most people's definition, which is the ability to pay 100%
Yeah.
of benefits for
Yeah.
decades ahead.
Yeah.
You won't solve it for a 75-year forecast. You'd have to do some other things
Right.
like Sheldon Whitehouse proposes in his bill. But for the far future, what you and I would consider the
Right.
far future, which is another 20 to 30 years,
Right.
yes.
Many in your party and many who support unions as you do have opposed what others have recommended, raise the retirement age, given that people live longer, work longer. Would that be a sensible addition as well?
I don't think that would get you there, and the actuaries don't believe that that would get you there either. We did raise the retirement age back when I say we. I was in college then, and over pitchers of beer saying Social Security would never be there for us boys, and yet it's there, and I'm 63. So we did raise the age once. Here's the rub with that, Mark. Uh, uh, Life expectancy for some of us is going up. But for people who work outdoors, who work with their bodies, who do hard labor, it's really not going up. So what you're essentially would be doing by raising that retirement age is denying them benefits for what is a shorter lifespan. For example, I was in Pine Ridge, Native American reservation in South Dakota, and the life expectancy for a male on Pine Ridge is 42 years. And when Bobby Kennedy, the real Bobby Kennedy, Sr., visited there in 1968, it was also 48 years. So the real thing, and I think there's John Larson, Congressman Larson introduces this bill every year. I think he's up to 200 sponsors on scrapping the cap over $250,000,
Yeah.
and it would get you there. Can I say one other thing about how the program operates?
Yes,
Because some
sir.
other people don't.
It's very important.
I was ran into a young guy at the gym, and he was seeing all the stuff about Doge and worries that Trump wanted to liquidate the program or end it. He said, "But I'd get my money back, right? Like from my account."
Right.
I said, "No, dude, that's not
Right.
the way it
Right.
works. Like
Yeah.
every penny you paid in last year
Right.
yeah, went out of the system to pay benefits.
Right.
That doesn't make it a Ponzi scheme.
Right.
That makes it a
That's
generational
yeah.
promise.
Right.
Much like insurance,
Right.
when you need it, it's there for you because of the premiums paid in.
Right.
So that's the way this works. And younger people stand to get screwed worse than people that are current beneficiaries
Right.
because not only will they have paid in for the 10 years and potentially not get the benefit out of it, they'll also have grandma moving into their basement if we're unable to make 100% of benefits.
Right. Ask you about one other solution that's often proposed, or proposed solution. President Bush pushed it, whether you call it privatization or personal savings account. There's a lot of people, including some Democrats, who say invest the money in the market rather than just let it sit in banks and earn a little bit of interest. Invest in the market, make that optional for people, maybe make it even additional to the guaranteed benefit on top of the guaranteed benefit. Is it a mistake to not have the Social Security system benefit from the magic of compound interest?
It is, this was an issue much debated back in 1983.
Mhm.
And counterintuitively, you might be surprised, Mark, to remember that it was actually Republicans in the House
Mhm.
who did not want big government controlling that huge amount of money. Keep in mind, Social Security, you know, the story, why do you rob? They asked the bank robber why you rob banks. It's
It's where
because
the money is. Yeah.
it is the only agency that has what is now a $2.6 trillion surplus. And it was actually the Republican Party that said, we don't want, for example, a Democratic presidency, administration saying, we're only going to invest in the market in companies we agree with
Right.
that fill in the policy blank, whether
Yeah.
it's divesting in South Africa, whether it's green energy
Yeah.
and not fossil
But
fuel.
they're schemes to sort of avoid those choices and make it more blind. But
There could be for a
yeah.
portion of that.
Yeah.
However, if we had our money, if Social Security's largesse, depending on how much we're talking about here, had been invested when the crash happened in 2007, that would have been a really bad thing for people and would have greatly advanced.
Yeah, but if you give them their guaranteed benefit, but allow them to invest a portion above that in the market,
Yeah,
then
just
yeah,
Secretary Bessent, bragged that they had baked into the big ugly bill for billionaires something that were called Trump bonds for babies,
yeah,
where they give parents $1,000
yeah,
provided they invest in the market.
yeah,
Now, they haven't done the regulations to tell you what companies you're allowed to
yeah.
invest in on the
It's
market.
complicated.
But
Yeah,
let's set that aside for
yeah,
us. And what Bessent said was the quiet thing out loud. He said, this is a backdoor way to privatize Social Security.
he kind of took it back, but
Now, when I was governor of Maryland, like all governors, our state pension system has some really safe investments, like the full faith and credit of the United States
yeah,
of America. And we also invest in the market. And
yeah,
I was trained not to take a position on that as Secretary or rather, Commissioner of Social Security. That's a policy question that people can debate. But there's something different happening now. And that is, I believe, a full-on push to not just privatize or diversify, let's call it
yeah.
diversify
There you go.
investment
Yeah,
uh, It is. I believe they're going in a much more wholesale
Yeah.
approach. I do believe they want to wreck the reputation of the system with big lies, like it's rife with waste, fraud, and abuse. Immigrants are driving it bankrupt
Right.
when they're prohibited from receiving anything. And you know what? The fact that Doge stole, expropriated, made a copy of all of the personal data of every American and put it in their own personal cloud uh, would lead some to believe that they are building an alternative platform for the one we have now to pay those benefits. And more recently, we saw that the current commissioner's former company, Pfizer, got the contract after stepping over the winning bidder and the runner up to administer the very debit cards that he's telling people who had received paper checks that they need to go and get.
The good folks at Cozy Earth are doing a crazy thing right now. They're having Black Friday Cozy Earth sale every day. Won't last forever, but right now, 40% off site wide on the sheets, the pillows, cases, the pajamas, the bubble cuddle blanket, the jogger pants, all available now for 40% off. Go to cozyearth.com, use the promo code CHUE for 40% off. Kind of an incredible opportunity for you to buy stuff for yourself. Well, it keeps you cool in summer, but as we said before, it keeps you warm in winter, and you need to be ready to stay warm. So go to cozyearth.com and do yourself a favor, get 40% off. This is an opportunity. I wouldn't say of a lifetime necessarily, but if you haven't yet bought the Cozy Earth, for instance, the pants, you know I'm a big fan. Do that now, 40% off. Holiday shopping, get it done. Lickety split with Cozy Earth, cozyearth.com. Wrap the ones you love in luxury with Cozy Earth. Thank you for your attention to that matter.
They say that something that's easy is like a walk in the park. Well, easier than a walk in the park, hit the subscribe button, be part of the two-way community, never miss an episode, be part of our conversations. Thank you for your service to America.
And don't forget, you can now listen to the morning meeting and two-way tonight on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.